Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back, episode 16, and as I said in the posts, we have so much to cover tonight. As I said, it's the beauty of having a few days off, is you get plenty of material to cover once you do get back. But before we cover anything, I'd like to shout out my co-host with the most. So Des, it's a pleasure to have you on with me as always. And how's the week been for you?
Yeah, busy in the business. So, but obviously keep an eye on the news. I don't think any it's been really good news, but you expect that from training camp. So, we just need to take our lumps and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'd agree with that. I mean, as they say, that the old epithet of no news is good news is there's certainly something to it, especially this week. But yeah, let's dive right in, and we'll start talking about some of the things. But a little bit of good news. We didn't get the chance to shout him out on Tuesday, but just on Tuesday there, as I say, a massive happy belated birthday to QB2. So Kirko Chains is 37. And say what you will about, his age is getting up there or the injuries, but I, for one, and I know you are too, Des, are glad to have him on the roster. He's probably the best backup in the NFL. Happy birthday, Kirko, from all the panelists and creators at AFN, from all the fans. Much love to you, and I hope you have a good one. I hope you had a lovely time.
Absolutely. Des? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, as you said, best backup in the NFL. I mean, no disrespect to Easton Stick, but when you watch how he was in probably the first half, and he maybe improved a wee bit in the second half before Emory Jones came in. But when you're seeing that Kirk Cousins and an injury to Michael Penix Jr. is all that stands between effectively us and playing Easton Stick as our quarterback. That should make every Atlanta Falcons fan bow down to Kirk, knowing that he's still here. And again, if you're Terry Fontenot and you're looking at that preseason game last week, you're wondering, is it worth just taking the 27 million hit and just having him as a backup?
And I would certainly say at this point it's looking like that's the best way to do it, because we've seen so many high profile people get injured, and that's something that we'll come on to real soon. There's been some high profile injuries for us, and we are not in a position where you would want it to be one of your quarterbacks. A lot of people would say if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. But in terms of the way the league's progressed and the way people are being hurt at an exponentially higher rate, it's definitely a commodity to have as a serviceable backup with tenure, who's proven to be able to play at a high level if he can stay healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as they say, you want to keep your starters healthy. I need to pitch in with Cincinnati Bengals. What the hell are you doing? I mean, Joe Burrows. I mean, we don't need to see Joe Burrows. I need to mention this, Will, mate. We don't need to see Joe Burrows getting literally tossed around like a rag doll in a preseason meaningless game. I mean, if I'm a Cincinnati Bengal fan, I'm rioting. I'm going after the coaching staff. Why do we need to see that? Absolutely crazy. I mean, it goes from one extreme to the other. You go from Atlanta Falcons not playing any of their effectively two starters, if you could say, in Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins, to Cincinnati Bengals playing their number one of the best in the NFL. And I don't know whether that was the starting O-line in front of him or whether it was a backup O-line, but he was getting manhandled unbelievably terribly. I mean,
this was a point that has been made in a few places, is that's the risk you take when you've got starters playing against guys who are trying to make the roster. They want to look as good as they can. They want to look like they're going to get after you. They're going to hit with intensity. They're going to throw you to the ground. They're going to make sure that play is over and dead. And when you've got a quarterback who's going to cost as much as Joe Burrow costs, as I say, he's up there in the top 10. So you're talking 50 million a season. It's not the kind of commodity you want to be playing literally hardball with. As I said, there's a drop off because if he does get hurt, then you've got Desmond Ridder, and we all know what happens when you put Desmond Ridder into a game.
I mean, I don't think Desmond Ridder was as bad as what a lot of people make him out to be. I think I've said before, Jalen Mayfield, when he was drafted, I think it was a third round. I mean, they were thrown into the fire. I mean, Desmond Ridder, yeah, he sat behind Mariota, I think, for a wee while, but I mean, you're not really learning much from that. And at times, Mariota came out and said that he wasn't there to help the backup, you know what I mean? So he made it clear he was there for himself. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to. I mean, we seen what it was like riding with Desmond Ridder as our first number one quarterback, and it just didn't work. So if Joe Burrow's, I mean, what are we trying to? I mean, are we trying to see how good he is? I mean, we know how good he is.
And that's something we'll get into a little later on when we talk about Coach Heem's latest presser yesterday, is that when you have a player of that ability, especially when they've been in the league 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you know exactly what sort of a player you have. So there's no benefit to throwing him out there during preseason. The only thing that's going to potentially happen is you're going to get him hurt. And then you have a 50 million a season liability. And nobody wants that. So you just need to really think about what you want out of preseason, and that's something we'll talk about to kind of wrap up the show in a little while. Is like the actual importance of preseason, and why I feel like it's been skewed a little bit by some fans over the last few seasons, especially with being cut down to 3 games. But those 3 games are still imperative, and obviously, as I say, a little later on in the show, we'll explain why. But yeah, as I say, a lot of big news, and particularly there's in terms of the injuries. So moving on, as I say, we have another big dependable starter. When you're talking about getting ready for the season, this is something you don't want to hear. But starting right tackle, Caleb McGarry, as I say, rocking the new do, one of several leaders on that quite stalwart, quite stout offensive line. And also, as I say, to throw into the mix, he's just signed that nice 2-year, $30 million extension. They did say that it was severe enough to where he was carted off the field. So yeah, should we be concerned, is my question, Des?
Well, if we're doing not concerned as 1 and being really concerned as 10, we're at 100 trillion. We've made the point in a few shows before that we're only a few injuries away from having an average O-line. I know Raheem came out and said in the presser recently that he was really happy with the backups, the O-line backups. Well, if he's really happy with the O-line backups, I mean, I don't think I know loads about football, but I mean, I must be watching a different game, because the backups are not up to scratch. There was a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of nervousness. They didn't seem as if they were ready. Even some veterans. But you then look at having effectively a top 3 O-line in the NFL, and then as we've said in a few shows, when you then go to the backups, it just all falls off. It just falls off a cliff. So from my point of view, you've got effectively a rookie quarterback. He's only played 3 games, and you need. I've always said the 2 things you need when you've got a rookie quarterback is you need a great O-line to protect them, and you need a good running game to effectively support them in that benefit. And effectively, yeah, we know the running game is going to be there, but we've seen in the preseason game, when you've got the backups, there's no running game. There's literally no holes. The Nathan Carter, I think, has played really well. He couldn't find any holes, and when he did find holes, he made a difference. But there was just no movement there. It just seems to the O line just seems to collapse in front of you. As I say, from 1 to 10, I'm at 100 quintillion or whatever. I mean, I'm really concerned. And the fact that obviously it was bad enough they had to go for an MRI, they're saying as well.
Yeah.
I hear some reports that he wasn't able to put any power on it. They're now saying I think it's a small I think a small strain, or again the issue you've got with the preseason is the Atlanta Falcons aren't duty bound to come out and tell you what's happening with their players. They don't need to. So you're hearing,
and even if they were, you know what Coach Raheem is like, about saying a lot and telling you very little. So I feel like he would be diplomatic enough, even out of respect for Caleb, to not divulge more than was his part, you know. But I feel like I share your concern to an extent. I wouldn't go quite so far because, as I say, well, first out, kudos to Nathan Carter for running behind a substandard offensive line and still making plays. But in terms of like the offensive line itself, what really worried me was the drop off in terms of discipline. Some of the stupid penalties were really, really getting to me, especially from Jack Nelson, who we know played at a good school in Wisconsin, so he shouldn't be making these mental mistakes. Obviously, we get that the game's faster with bigger bodies, but at the same time, it's not his first rodeo, so he should be a little bit better in that respect. But yeah, again, it gets even deeper when you talk about the tackle situation, because when we're talking about McGarry and how much you're talking about our ability to produce on offense being affected. Another thing is that we've got our backup missing as well, because we would put in Storm Norton, who's a swing tackle. He can play left or right side, but the problem is he's just had ankle surgery now, and they're saying that he's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks worth of action. So that makes it even more worrying. And as I say, it does come with a caveat to a potential signing. So what I've got here then is, assuming we did look to bring someone in to replace Storm on the depth chart, there is one name that I've seen thrown around now. For a 6th or 7th round pick, we could get this guy, Wanya Morris, who is a former Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not fantastic, but as I say, for a 7th round, maybe a 6th round pick, he's certainly someone who, again, is flexible like Matthews is. So if we can bring him in, we can have him play left, have him play right, have them work together and figure something out. And as I say, if you want to talk about fitting the vibe, I don't know how you feel about dancing on the field and all the rest of it, Des, but I mean, if you can bring that into Atlanta, who are we to say no?
Yeah.
So do you know anything of?
Well, I was going to say, you show me a dance floor and I'll show you how to boogie, mate. Honestly, we bit of good dance music, and I'm going for it. You know what I mean? Again, I go down the Sean McVay side of all this. I mean, you look at Jack Nelson. Jack Nelson's a 6th round pick, right? Now, when you're picking a tackle, it's in the 6th round. It's you know there's going to be time. He's not coming into the NFL and playing straight away. That's the developmental. He needs to work, and you don't expect then from Jack Nelson in the first year, maybe the 2nd year. It literally it's another Ryan Nuzzo. You bring him in, you develop him, and you hope that he's going to effectively get to a point where he's a reasonable backup. If he's a 6th round, if you get him as a good backup, that's a win. But you then look at effectively handing that 6th-round pick off to get somebody, and I know of them, but I don't know a lot of them. You get somebody like Wanya Morris. I mean, from my point of view, we've been saying this before the injuries. Well, the depth of the O-line just was not good enough. When effectively, I would say 35 to 40% of your productivity in the offense is going to be the running game, you need to have good veteran backups that can walk in. Now, Storm Norton's one of them, and probably as a backup, he's probably the best backup. As you say, he's a swing tackle, so he can do left or right. But he then goes down, and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks, and that's an ankle injury. Now, you're talking about, these are big boys. These are the guys at 120 pounds. These are big boys, so you're having to get your power from your ankles and from your legs. They're big boys, 300 pounds, 280, 300 pounds. So you imagine how long that's going to take him to possibly get into his best effectively productivity, you know what I mean? Because it's an ankle injury. It's a bit like Kirk with the ACL, with the injury as well. It took him so long, and I don't think last year at any point he was over that.
No, you know and because, as I say, Kirk, as a quarterback, has to push off that ankle. The only position where you're going to need your ankles more to push than as a quarterback would be as an offensive or defensive lineman. And as I say, as a tackle, you're right on the edge. So it's not just about holding position and the structural strength and integrity of the ankle. It's also the fact that you're defending the edge, and these guys are using moves, swims, spins, all that sort of thing. So you need to be stable in movement as well, and that's where the concern and where the extra time is. Just a wee shout out, a wee caveat. So we've got some early comments down in the chat. So shout out to Kishido. Welcome to the building. It's the first time seeing you in the chat. And then, as I say, we're excited about week 1. And as I say, we're not the only squad to do so, because we got a Bucks fan in the house. So as I say, we don't mind fraternising with the enemy, so to speak. But just a wee comment from you here. You're thinking the Falcons win week 1. It depends entirely on the prognosis of Caleb McGarry. For me, I feel like interiorly, I've been saying all off season that Vita Vea is a lot to prepare for in the interior of your D line. That kid's a stud, 6'4", 350. So it's going to take a concerted effort by the offensive line to stop him ruining our plans. But if we can do that, then we should handle you at the bends. But it should be a competitive game nonetheless, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
But just looking, as I say, while we're still on the subject of injuries, a little bit about the wide receivers now. So over the last few days, we've been hearing some things about Kadaro Hodge and also Ray McLeod. So we'll get into the press in a little bit more detail later on. But as I say, Coach Morris was discussing it. And as it pertains to Kadaro, he was saying that it's a bit of a fever issue. He's had a bit of a temperature, things of that nature, so that's what's been keeping him at bay. But he will be resuming practice as early as possible, so we're talking within the next day or so. And then you talk about Ray McLeod, who, again, they said that he was taking time off. It was nothing serious, just muscular fatigue, light, not even a light strain, but just more muscular fatigue than anything else. So it was just, again, a cautionary tale. And I feel like that's been a bit of a running sort of theme for our Falcons this off-season. So would you be able to comment, Des, and let us know how you feel, obviously? In terms of the coaches, I'm glad that they're doing that. And I think you'd maybe agree that it's best to, especially with these guys who we are pretty sure are going to have their places in the 53-man roster, that we're good to go. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain players on this team that we don't need to see in pre-season. And we haven't seen any of them in pre-season. But that's not, again, a lot of fans are talking about if they're not playing in pre-season, they're not playing. These players, day in and day out, are absolutely breaking their body in the scorching heat, and they're literally getting to a point where Ray McLeod is getting rested because he's put his body through so much. Cadero Hodge, the fever, who knows where that came from? It could be maybe a flu or a coronavirus, something like that. You don't know. But again, we're a few weeks out from the real season starting. So yeah, just rest them, let them recuperate. Ray McLeod, Cadero Hodge, we've got Darnell Mooney's out. So again, we still don't know what's going to happen with Darnell Mooney. And there's only so many reps you can put Drake London through. Now I know that man will probably want to play every single rep, but again, we need to think about the season. I'll say again, our bye week is week 5. So after week 5, we're straight on, we're constant. So to have, again, good backups, Ray McLeod done really well last year. Cadero Hodge done the special teams, and obviously can take reps as well at wide receiver. You've got Casey Washington, who effectively didn't play last week. So is that saying that they've seen enough of him? So again, he's in the team. So we did say before in a few shows ago that I was comfortable with the Darnell Mooney injury, that I was comfortable with the depth that we've got at wide receiver. If you're Raheem Morris, you're looking at the depth and you're going, well, yeah, it's okay. It's where I want it to be, but we don't want to. We want to rest these players. We want to give these players as much rest as possible when we can, to allow them to be ready for the season.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, a lot of the early observations who the 53 man's going to be has been done. So you're looking now towards sort of, if you're speaking about, say, wide receiver or corner, then you're looking at, say, the 5th and 6th positions on the depth chart now, and some of the guys that are sort of on the fringes looking in and fighting for those spots. I feel like that's what Coach Morris has definitely said in regards to that. And a special shout out to Miss Christie. So hey, Miss Christie, one of the ladybirds is always repping. Showing love to the family. So, going on, as I say, wide receiver wise, I feel like Coach Morris is also comfortable with the depth that we have. I mean, we've just cut DJ Chark. We just recently brought him in. Now he's gone. So if you do happen to catch this show, DJ, thanks for popping in, for doing what you could. It's always appreciated for the guys that are a few days and done. You do feel as a panelist, as a content creator, you do feel some sort of way about them. I mean, as I say, when he was coming in, I like DJ Chark. I've nothing against the guy, but just maybe, as I say, he was considering retirement, and the fact that a couple of days in he's took a knock, and you can definitely see why he was thinking that.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a good chance that he calls it a career now, and if that is the end, then thank you for the memories as well. I should put that out there now. But yeah,
I mean, I think when you see somebody, I mean, he's had a good career. When you see somebody like the DJ Chark, and he's playing in the 4th quarter in a preseason game with the backups of the backups, you kind of, I mean, if all the batters and batting and the hitting that you've taken and the career that you've had, if that isn't enough, then you're probably looking around and saying to yourself, do you know what, I don't need this. I think at some point the love of the game, you've still got the love of the game, but there's only so much you can put your body through.
100%, and that's for me as well. Like, because I'm right at that stage when you realise that you can't do it on a physical level anymore. You need to start thinking about things like coaching or being some sort of positional assistant and things of this nature, because the love of the game's still there, but my saying to myself was always give up on the game before the game gives up on you. If you don't retire on your own terms, chances are the game will make it obvious to you that it's time to kind of hang them up.
But again, you hear a few of the old veterans, the ones that have retired, and I mean, Matt Ryan tells you. I mean, when he went to Indianapolis, he effectively he sat out. Obviously, they rested him and put somebody else in, and he said that effectively after like 3 or 4 weeks, him trying to throw again, he could feel the pain and literally the pain in his body showing that ball. That was only after a few weeks. So I mean, you're looking at some of these players that have been they've sat out since February last year. If they have played last year, if they're not in the playoffs even earlier than that, effectively the start of January, and then they're coming in and again, this is I've seen something on Twitter. This is where you can understand a lot of people shouting about some of the players, and we have had some of the players play in pre-season, some of the starters, but you then understand, because I've seen a comment, somebody saying, how can you go from effectively practice and training camp into real reps where you're getting hit by another team?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, you had obviously the Tennessee Titans workout, and again, that's going to be favourable, but effectively going from, when you see like what's happened to DJ Chark, when you're going from a standing start to effectively getting a pounding straight away in the first game, you have to have a wee bit of work up to that, if you know what I mean. And that's how I understand. And that's how I understand where people are saying about trying to play some of the players pre-season. But you then look at the injuries that we've had in training camp, and you think to yourself, if this had happened in a pre-season game, if Raheem Morris had put Caleb McGarry into a pre-season game and this injury had happened in a pre-season game, there would have been fans tearing down the stadium to get to Raheem Morris because of that decision. So you have to look at it from both sides.
Yeah, and this is something that I seen on Mad Mike's show earlier. So shout out to Mike. He mentioned it as well. Just how it's you need to weigh it up. How much do your players need to progress in the cases of some of these young guys versus how much do you want to risk them getting hurt? And shout out to Miss Christie again. Yeah, as I say, that's why we wanted to open the show with it, because as dynamic and as multifaceted as our offense is, without those 5 guys that make up that starting unit, it's going to be tough to make some of those plays. We're going to have to start looking at MPJ to start pulling the ball in a little bit more, some run pass options, some screens, some of that good stuff. If we don't have a McGarry or at least a serviceable backup. But yeah, the right and left tackle positions are bad ones to lose, because you need to protect your man. Ain't that right, Des?
Yeah, I mean, and I'll go over with Christy and appreciate all the support, Christy, and I love your show. Effectively, there was talk about Matthew Bergeron actually moving into McGarry's place, because in his freshman season he actually played at right tackle.
Yep.
So you're hearing all this connotation and all things that happen, and again, that just shows you how important the O-line is. I mean, the offense doesn't work without the O-line working. You know what I mean? I would love to say, shout out to all the fans who, when McGarry was getting the new contract, or when McGarry was getting the big contract a few years ago, that they were all saying that it was going to be a waste of money and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he's a rock, but when you then look at the actual the depth chart, you've got Caleb McGarry at right tackle, then you've got Brandon Parker. And then after that, you've got Jack Nelson. Now, that's probably what I mean. Caleb McGarry, I think he's missed 1 or 2 games, but I can't remember him really having an injury. So again, this
Yeah, I
is
think
quite.
it's two games he's missed in his entire career, and I think this is year 7,
Yeah,
8, maybe year 8, and he's missed 2 games. So again, that shows you that consistency that's been bred through the captain of the O line, who even before Lindstrom came in was Jake Matthews, and he's never missed a start. Well, he missed one start early on, but since then has the longest stretch. So I feel like he's doing well at still captaining and passing on that ethos to the boys on the line. But yeah, again, Caleb is such a solid starter that I feel like we don't have to, unless it's something very severe, we won't have to worry about him missing too much time because I feel like he's a dog, as we say, and he's no small potato either, going about 6'6", 330.
yeah.
So once he comes back, he's going to be. I feel like he's going to be raring to go. So it's just a matter of obviously seeing where we're at, because obviously it is a lower body injury and you're carrying that much mass. Just it's going to take a few days until we know prognosis and things like that. But I
I
feel like
mean,
let's not worry because there is options. As I say, $5 million for the season and a 6th round pick, and we can get in someone who's at least serviceable. Or as you say, Bergeron has played left and right tackle at college level, so that could be a good option. But I mean, as I say, there's different ways we can go. So I mean, just to play devil's advocate, if you were the head coach, would you spend that $5 million in that 6th round pick, or would you be looking in house?
well, for me, a 6 round pick is a throwaway pick, mate. To be honest, as I said before, Sean McVay doesn't care. He wants the players in the room. He doesn't care about a 6th round or a 7th round pick. You know what I mean? Effectively, if you look at historically, the best picks we've got out of there was we had Tyler Algier was a 5th round pick,
Mm-hmm.
and Helms was a 7th round pick.
Yep,
But when you look at other, I mean, I love the guy to death, but I think Frank Darby. Do you remember Frank Darby?
I do. Frank No
Phenomenal guy.
Hands Derby.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the videos he used to make was hysterical. But I think he was a 6th round pick. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you're getting to them, the picks, it's literally it's a toss up what you're going to get with these players. You've effectively been through the cream, and I know for this draft there was a lot of depth in certain positions.
Mm-hmm.
But like that, this is where the issues are arisen by the issues we've had at edge. We've effectively, in the D line as well, we've effectively, the last 2 drafts, we've had to put so much into the defensive position in the D line and the edge position, simply down to the fact that it was so bad. And that then means that effectively there's not been enough. We've not really been able to bring in much depth in the draft as backups for the O line.
Yeah.
So effectively, every decision makes an opposite and equal decision kind of thing, whatever that's supposed to be. But effectively, because you're, it's. I mean, it's after 9 o'clock here, so my brain stopped working. So
No, don't worry, man. Even if you clock out, that's why we're on a 2-man squad. But shout out again to Christy just while you're collecting your thoughts, mate, because she's always got the good questions coming. We never miss the Ladybird show if we can possibly help it. And that was a great show last night. We obviously, the original Bird Lady, getting to hear the stories about how she's come back from cancer. She's dealt with the Carolyn Freeman situation, because I won't throw the Bird Lady tag out for that woman, because we know who the real Bird Lady is. So last night was a great show for all of us involved. And let me just have a look at this other one. So yeah, there is a few weeks to prepare for the Bucks. Bergeron may be a solid option, but Bergeron will continue to fill the voids in those positions. Yeah, I agree. I feel like he's not been backwards about coming forwards. We'll go into some of the other signings. I mean, bringing in Ben DiNucci, bringing in Ronnie Perkins, bringing in CJ Henderson. He knows the positions where he maybe doesn't need depth per se, but to have the illusion of depth or the competition there is sometimes enough. And I feel like he's been very good in doing that. So I've definitely stepped back. I mean, I know it used to trigger some of us, but no, I'm going to jump on the let Terry Cook bandwagon a little bit.
Absolutely.
I feel like he's managed the thing well enough to earn my confidence. And you can talk a little bit about that as well, Des. I mean, how are you feeling in Terry and his decisions in terms of bringing in personnel during preseason just to heat things up and keep the snaps competitive and things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, again, we went from TD, Dimitrov, and effectively it was quite unusual because when Terry Fontenot became general manager, you started seeing constantly every week, you started seeing players that were released and then a new player coming in, and then that player would be released and then a new player coming in. And you seen the turnaround of the roster was always happening, and it's never stopped. He says himself that he continues to look at how better he can make this team, and if that means at the O-line position, then so be it. Effectively, the irony of everything is that the contract and the money that we released with the Caleb McGarry contract extension might actually be the money that we use to actually bring in somebody to fill Caleb McGarry's void if he's out for a long term. So
well, it's wise money because I mean, if he does prove serviceable enough to stay on the roster, there's no reason why we can't make a thing of that and say to Caleb, look, we spent some of your restructure money bringing this kid in. Obviously we've got Jake mentoring Jack, so why don't you take this kid under your wing, and then we've got both tackle spots, hopefully with a guy who can be developed under the right tutelage. And as I say, taken from Jake's example, and I feel like Caleb's, you could throw him into that list now, just solid, dependable guys who know what they want from their unit and are big enough and bad enough to come and tell you that's what they want, and you're not going to tell them otherwise. Just run behind them. Just run behind them and let them light somebody up for you.
And again, you look, Ryan Noozles, he's under contract. You've got Bergeron, who again is a young player. You then look at Caleb McGarry's getting a wee bit on. Jake Matthews I think he's 32, which again is still young for his position, but you can start to see that as the team's developing and getting better, you can start now seeing as the draft comes next year, you can see where the positions are that's needed. Obviously, CJ Henderson's been brought in at cornerback, and obviously he got a pick at the training camp. But you're looking at cornerback, you're looking at the O-line. You do need to start bringing a wee bit of depth now, and not free agents and undrafted free agents that effectively you can put on the as a backup. But as I said before, this is all down to the fact that how bad the D-line was and the edge was as well.
And I feel like we've made a lot of steps because of how bad the edge unit is. We've got that crew, that group base in place now, but at the same time, we've still been able to go out and get some of these playmakers. We've been able to get a Drake London, a Kyle Pitts, a Bijan Robinson, and these types of guys. So I feel like we've balanced it out quite well. But now is the time where, now that we've got CJ Henderson, and again, a former first round pick, if he proves to be the guy opposite AJ Terrell, I wouldn't be mad to go and use, well, it wouldn't be a first round next year now, but I wouldn't be mad about going and using that round 2 pick on a good solid SEC tackle or guard. Like the way Dallas took is it Booker out of Alabama this year, Tyler Booker. I feel like we could do worse than bringing in, a big SEC offensive lineman to compete, because again, to piggyback on what Christie's saying, we're down to 4 tackles now. That's Jake Matthews and Jordan Williams on the left, and then Brandon Parker and Jack Nelson on the right, while McGarry's out. So yeah, we'll definitely, I wouldn't say we definitely need to bring in Wanya Morris, but again, when you're down to 4 tackles and now you're talking about real snaps, if McGarry doesn't come back, then I would definitely, as I say, a throwaway pick that's a 50-50 punt in the draft anyway, at best, and $5 million, which we can recoup through another restructure without too much bother. So I feel like, again, as I say, bringing in Wanya Morris isn't the worst option in the world to kind of be a band-aid. And he's still young enough where if Caleb comes back, then it's like, okay, now you're right tackle too, but let's see what you've got now that you're being mentored by the guy whose job you're trying to take. I like having that system in place, and I think, as you say, building depth, that would definitely be the way to do it. If we're picking up these guys and we're investing money in them, then let's invest in them. Let's see where we can get them, you know?
But what I would say is that this coaching staff, again, I'll go back to what Kyle Smith said at his presser a few weeks ago, they're always constantly looking at other rosters, and they always look, and they've worked out roughly what players are going to get released. You look at Emery Jones, again, we spoke about it on Saturday last week. We spoke about what was going to happen at the quarterback position, because we could see then, we agreed that he was going to go into a concussion protocol. Everyone in their granny could see that he was concussed. Effectively, they then put him on a IR. I think he goes through waivers, and he's on a injury IR. Straight away, then they signed Ben DiNucci. So effectively, we're sitting here last Saturday thinking to ourselves, well, is it going to be Easton Stick that's going to play the full game? Or is there a possibility we see Kirk Cousins? Well, there's your answer. Ben DiNucci was signed. So if you honestly believe that Terry Fontenot is looking at this situation and not looking and seeing what's out there, then you obviously you underestimate this man more than I expect, because he's constantly looking around. So he'll have his players ready, and he'll have players, and he'll be talking to them. And as soon as they find out that effectively Caleb McGarry is maybe it might be another week or two before he's back in, then they're going to sign somebody. You know what I mean? The money's there. And as I say, Sean McVay doesn't care about 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. He shows them about. He wants the player that he can see. Why take a chance on a potential player when you can see exactly what player you're going to get straight away? He's played 5, 10, 15 games in an NFL game. You can see what he's going to do. Throw away a 7th round pick, bring him in. You know you can develop him, or even if that's the best he's going to be, you know what kind of player you're getting. You know what I mean?
Plus, I mean, it has the added caveat that he's not a lot of money to bring in, and he's coming from a Super Bowl offense and a fantastic coach in Andy Reid. So I mean, that speaks for itself. When you're picking up someone from KC and that system that they run there, even if they're not starting caliber, they could well be on other teams throughout the league. And this is the point we've made about guys like Tyler Algier and Kyle Pitts and things like this. So shout out again to the chat. Home team, Brother Blackberry. Pleasure as always to see you. The AFN content creators are always hopping in each other's DMs, hopping in each other's shows, and we are here for it.
Absolutely.
And a shout out to Mutual Grundy, always dropping the red and blacks. We love to see it, because as you see, even when we go out to town, when we go into the centre of Glasgow, we always rep the red and black. So it means a lot to see y'all dropping them down in the chat. But let's keep this conversation going, Des. So as you say, a name that you pulled out of the hat a little bit earlier on, Casey Washington. So I've got a couple of photos to back this up, because from what we hear, you've been saying for some weeks, don't sleep on Casey Washington. And I can see why, because the guy's been balling out. And I mean, check those guns. That's that's an invite to the gun show. That is nice work. We can see that you've been putting in the reps in the gym. You can see the hands on him, and I think he makes the 53. When it's all said and done, how do you feel? Do you think like you've seen enough from him to warrant maybe not even seeing him on tomorrow night, or how do you feel?
Yeah, there's not a chance we're seeing Casey Washington tomorrow night. When you look at the potential when you look at the chance that Kadero Hodges obviously got a fever, Ray McLeod's got a wee small injury, they're not going to take a chance. I mean, I think all the players. I know Raheem Morris said in his presser that this was the get into the roster game, but effectively there's going to be the last game you're ever going to play your best players and players that you expect to go on the roster is in this game. This game is we're saying Natron Brooks. This game is for the ones that have kind of shown out for the last two games, and you think we just need to see a wee bit more to see whether this guy is going to sign with going to the 53 or whether we're going to put him onto the practice squad.
Yeah.
So as Raheem said, it's getting into the roster. So effectively, you're not going to, as he's come out and said, you're not going to see any of the rookie first rounders. Again, we've seen enough of them. This is the game that you effectively want to see all these players who have played well, like the Nathan Carters. Again, I think he had a great game last week. And the ones that you're still a bit unsure about, the ones you just want to see a wee bit more from, and you think, do you know what, we'll put them in there. The Nathan Carters, the Dylan Drummonds, you know, I mean, the issue with some of the players, Kobe Bryant is injured, you know what I mean? Nick Nash, we've not really heard a lot about Nick Nash. We've not really heard a lot in training camp about Nick Nash. So effectively, let's not play the third string in the fourth quarter. Let's play the second and the third string, the first half, and then other players in the second.
Let's see what some of these guys have got. Has it been one or two good games, or is it something that can be sustained and cashed in on, so to speak, 100%? And again, shout out to these chats because there's a few coming in and they're all very, very good. Let's start with Christie. So we may also see more reliance on the big-bodied offensive players. As I say, when you've got one of the better blocking tight ends in the league, in Charlie Werner, you can use these guys. I mean, he's 6'5", 265. You can bring him into the box as help. You can keep Tyler in there as a little bit of help if you've got Algier in. There's different ways that you can compensate for the fact that your right tackle is out without having to go out there and actually bring in another like-for-like trade on that one. Also to Blackberry, it's something that we did talk about a little bit earlier. We do feel that, we're concerned. We're not going to sit here and talk shit and tell you we're not concerned. Des said it earlier, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably about 20,000, and at least in terms of...
Well, it was a...
You went in coming trillions, did you not?
100 trillion. When you've got a top three O-line in the NFL and one of them goes down, and as you said before, one of your backups in Storm Norton, who's a swing tackle who can play left or right, again he's out. Effectively, that's where you start getting a wee bit anxious. You know what I mean? The effect. But what I would say is, and I'll say this to Blackberry, I've been saying constantly in many shows that we are going to see a more mobile Michael Penix Jr. this year than we expect. And I believe when you see what some of the plays they were doing with Emery Jones, I know it's all vanilla, but there was a lot of movement in the plays, and there was quite a few run plays for the quarterback. Now, I don't expect to see that, but I do think that Michael Penix Jr. is going to be more mobile. if that then means that it's because that the O-line is effectively leaking, then I think the one thing that I'm not concerned about is that we've got a quarterback that can deal with a leaky O-line.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that nice takeoff and scramble for, I think it was about 25 yards by stick. And I'm like, now, what happens if that's MPJ? There's a good chance he could house that. And things like that. It's when you're talking about starters, some of the nice things that we've seen in the past few weeks, you go, oh, that's fantastic play by Stick. Now adjust that for the level of understanding and athleticism of bringing in a Michael Penix Jr. or a Kirk Cousins, even the step up into the starting level quarterback, definitely. And then, just as I say, a couple of things to shout out as well. Grundy there, Elijah Wilkinson, next man up. Yep, 100%. That's the whole team deep has got to be next man up. I feel like it's been a good system of that, especially in terms of we're already rotating so much to where next man up almost becomes one of our epithets for the season. But especially when you start throwing injuries into the mix, it's like 100% agree with you. There's too much in the chat to keep up with. So we appreciate you all so much. We love being a distraction to you, as you say, Andrew. Shout out to our fellow countrymen there. And I'll let you take over, Des, because it's always good to be a distraction for the daily grind, isn't it?
Absolutely. Listen, mate, I'll tell you one thing, Andrew, right? Get a dishwasher, right? Sit back, get the computer open, get the phone open, and just watch us. You know,
or maybe jump on and join us, as I say, as an open panel, and we're always looking to grow. So, hint.
Absolutely. But listen, what I would say is tweet me your dishes, and I'll tell you from a scale to 1 to 10 how clean they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, how much concern your dishes give us? Let's 1 to 10 that.
Absolutely. Now, just going back to what was mentioned about Elijah Wilkinson. Now, again, depending on what happens, there's a good chance that Matthew Bergeron goes to effectively right tackle if Caleb McGarry's out for a certain amount of time, and then that means that Elijah Wilkinson's going to step up at left guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, the few penalties in the last pre-season, but again, I think when you watch what players are actually playing in this pre-season game, it'll probably tell you how severe or how unsevere the Caleb McGarry injury is. How severe or unsevere the Darnell Mooney injury is, Kadero Hodge, and Ray McLeod.
Yep.
You'll see what players are trying to protect and what players they believe that, you know what, we can roll with them and see what happens.
Yeah. So now, before we get into the big crux of the week to come, the Dallas game tomorrow and things like that, we have touched upon it, but let's get into it in a bit more detail. So, as you say, in terms of roster moves, we brought in Ben DiNucci, which, as I say, photographic evidence will show once again that he was a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. So again, bringing in essentially a similar situation to what we had with Emory Jones. He's essentially coming in to play scout for an offense that we're about to face. As I say, it's not the worst decision in the world. Not only is it QB depth, but also, as I say, he'll have an idea of what they're doing in Dallas as well. So before we get into Jake Hansen and some of these other guys, Ronnie Harrison, how do you feel about bringing in Ben DiNucci? I mean, of the QB class that's left out there in free agency, surely it would have been the wisest move. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a strange one because I honestly believe that they've signed Ben DiNucci. Is that you getting in an American flavour? Well,
oh yeah, I forgot to do the branding for that. So
yeah,
there you go. As if it's not American enough wearing an Atlanta t-shirt, we've also got the Bars American cream soda. So there you go.
Absolutely. I mean, shout out to Ben DiNucci, but I'm pretty sure he's got it in his head that he's only signing just so that they don't have to play Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix Jr. for preseason. So, I mean, Easton Stick, I think, is probably locked on to be the QB1. But effectively, he's not got a great. I mean, he's not got a great history. I mean, again, no. Dallas Cowboys signed him, and he's played a few NFL games. But I mean, was Emery Jones going to make it to the squad? I don't think he was. I think
given Stick's performances, I would say that QB3 was pretty much sewn up.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, this is just, as you say, like bringing him in to essentially give us a good taste for the defense, for the offense that we're going to be facing in Arlington tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think he knows that too. As I say, the way he's come out kind of tongue-in-cheek and said, the source is myself. Credible.
I know.
It's like, so I love these. He went in with a bit of a sense of humour and not taking yourself too seriously. So yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that as well. And again, he's not the only guy to just come into the mix either. So as I say, we've got Jake Hansen coming in as centre depth. I know one of the things you were worried about was a backup to Ryan Newsel if the worst should occur. And also, as I say, Ronnie Harrison, former Colts safety there, more competition in that defensive back room. And again, although I feel like it's pretty much sewn up, I feel like it can't hurt to kind of just throw one more body into the mix. So how do you feel in terms of those two guys? Do you know a lot about either one or what they bring to the table?
And I think we brought in an edge, Ronnie Perkins, as well.
Ronnie Perkins as well, yep.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to change the trajectory of the roster. Yeah. I just think that, again, it might be a case that they're brought in for an eye to be on the practice squad. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Again, they're not. I mean, if you look at the depth chart, I think everything, and I know they do this when they bring a new player in. They always tend to be lower on the depth chart, but I don't think. Listen, let's hope that in 2 years' time we're talking about Ronnie Perkins as being one of the best edges in the NFL. But
we can but hope.
Yeah. As I say, I think these are really just depth pieces, possibly for the practice squad, possibly brought in. I think we'll probably see some of these players playing the preseason. I think Raheem Morris will throw them in to see what the potential is for them.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, they've all played NFL games, so there'll be enough tape out there. So again, I trust the scouting staff. I trust the coaching staff. If they bring them in, who am I to question it? You know what I mean?
I agree, and I feel like the guy who we most want to see take some snaps against Dallas would be this guy, as we say, CJ Henderson. So a former first-round pick, he's made good plays in practice. He's got his interception day one. So all the great things you'll love to hear from a new defensive back. So yeah, let's suit him up for Dallas and see what he can do when it's live, so to speak. I'm 100% with that. And as I say, I feel like in terms of free agency, we're pretty set unless we go with that, getting that tackle and Wanya Morris Mucho. So that's what I would do, as I say, because as I say, there's no qualms about coaching up somebody who has just come from a Super Bowl level offense, not in the least. So we'll get into talking about some of the playing of starters a little later on, because some of the fans have been getting a little bit crazy and a little bit heated in certain ways. Some handbags have been flying and some temperatures have been flaring. So we'll hopefully be able to calm these all down a little bit and give you all some context. But before we do, let's talk a bit more about Coach Heem. So he had his press conference yesterday, and I know we touched on a couple of these points, but there is some of the things that I want to go over again. So it was mentioned earlier by Des, and I'm just picking up on that again, that we in one case, the case of Jalen Walker, we don't want to play him too early to get him hurt. So we know what he's capable of. We've seen his film from Georgia. We've seen his film from training camp, from the early reps. So there's no need for him to see the field. And for James Pierce Jr., we've seen all we need to see. When you're eating constant double teams, cut blocks, they're adjusting the offense with motion specifically to take the ball away from you, then we don't need to see you in Arlington either. So that's the reasoning behind that. And also he did say that, as you say again, Des, Natron Brooks will be getting more of a look, especially in that nickelback role. So as we say, there's a few kind of guys you could throw into the mix, D. Alford, Kobe Bryant, but it looks like we're going to be having a look at him against Dallas. So how do you feel? Do you think he will stitch up the nickel role, or do you think that's Billy Bowman's to lose? How do you feel?
I think they're always going to do the benefit of the doubt with a brand new draftee. Again, you're looking at if Natron Brooks goes to the practice squad or Billy Bowman Jr. goes to the practice squad, who do you think is going to snap him up first? You know what I mean? Who's going to get snapped up first? It's going to be Billy Bowman Jr. I mean, so 100%. Again, you're having to make the decisions. Unfortunately, that's just the part of the NFL that you have to accept. It's a case of, if we put this guy to the practice squad, is there a chance that he doesn't clear waivers and somebody snaps him up? You know what I mean? So
and that's what we've said for a few weeks as well. I mean, some of these cuts are going to be tricky because I mean, look at specifically talking about Watts, Bryant, and Bowman. There's your 1, 2, 3 for picks. You've got your Triple Crown winner and Nick Nash, and all of these guys we're talking about with the exception of Watts, who's playing a lot of first team ball. We're talking about a lot of these guys as like, will they, won't they? So there's going to be inevitably some painful losses, because that's another, to back you up, I think we should really see what Nick Nash has got to offer tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like we already know we're keeping Chris Blair. We already know we're keeping Casey Washington. Who wants to be that wide receiver 6? So yeah, that's the kind of questions I'm asking going into Dallas, and that's why I don't feel like, for everyone that's holding out for, can we win one preseason game? It's not important. I would rather get our 53-man roster in place for Tampa Bay to where we know we can take them. Essentially, that's exponentially more important than anything that we can learn in Dallas. The number one kind of takeaway has to be, there's our squad. And I'm sure you'd agree with that as well, Des.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, when you look at things, you look at, as you say, the wide receiver. I mean, there's a lot going on. What I would like to say is, I think I'm actually shocked that we went a full hour, and I actually checked it as the clock ticked over, a full hour without actually mentioning James Pierce Jr. That must be a first. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think there's a lot of players, and when you think that Natron Brooks was on the practice squad last year, so again, what you need to understand is a lot of decisions will be made on these preseason games for the development and future development as well. You know what I mean? There'll be players that will be playing in this team that will go to the practice squad, and it will be effectively the coaching staff are still trying to develop these players. You know what I mean? So Natron Brooks, I think Natron Brooks has got a good chance of actually making the squad. But again, what I would say is, gone are the days when you're looking at a squad and you think to yourself, who are they actually going to put in?
Yeah.
Pardon me, out of the 2 or 3 players you're looking, you're going, I mean, that player who's probably going to be our cornerback 2 would probably be a cornerback 4 or on a practice squad of another team. Gone are the days now when we had that scenario. We're now at a point where we're looking, we're going, there's actually players that we're going to leave out that in any other of the last 3 or 4 seasons would have actually made our team, would have made our 53-man roster. So that's at the point where whatever you say about Terry Fontenot, you cannot disagree that he has developed the team.
No, 100%, and I feel like you would be incredibly naive to do so. There are still some who have their problems with Terry and the choices that he's made, but regardless of taking your own feelings out of it, which is something that you need to do, and we would encourage you to do if you want to get into the paneling and the sports media side of things, is you really need to leave your heart at the door a little bit. So yeah, in terms of logical sense, it's really going to come down to some tricky decisions. Well, on you go and have your say, and then we'll get into this.
There's people that have still not, with Terry Fontenot, they just couldn't go over the fact that he came for the swamp. They just can't. I remember seeing for probably 2 years on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, how he was a double agent. He was effectively there from the Aints to destroy the Falcons. I mean, it was ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Perhaps the man just saw the light. You know what I'm saying? So there could be that too.
Yeah. When you're looking what's happening and with the Aints, I think he's seen this happening with Mickey Loomis. I think he's seen this happening 5-6 years ago before he left. He could see what was happening. You know what I mean? So
yeah, 100%. And now it's just starting to kind of prove right with guys like Honey Badger just going like, nah, it's been real, peace out. And it's like, no, I think Tyrann Mathieu knows exactly what's going on in the organisation.
And then you see what's happening, like with Tyler Shocker and what do you call him? What's the other one?
Oh, Spencer Rattled.
Spencer Rattled, yeah, that's right. Spencer Rattled. A few picks against who was it they were playing?
I don't know. I'll be honest.
I just watched the picks. You know what I mean? I just watched the picks. Yeah. So
I heard he threw picks. I was like, that'll do me. I read shock and rattler interceptions, and I'm like, that perfect. That's me read all I need to read for them.
Yeah, this is what this is why I get really upset sometimes on Twitter, because you see people that effectively are having a go at this coaching staff and having a go at this at the effectively Terry Fontenot. And you look at what we've got. Yeah, we signed Kirk Cousins for 180 million. Yeah, so be it. But I think for 27 million to have the best backup in the NFL, it's worth it. When you look across to the swamp and you see what's happening with the Aints, and you look at what they've got to pick in their quarterback, they are in quarterback hell. You know what I mean? And when
I'm like, I've said this a few times. I don't think I've said it on this show, but the Saints are going to be one of those teams that's going to hit Cleveland up later in the process and go, look, you've got nothing but quarterbacks. Can we get one? I could see New Orleans bringing in a Dylan Gabriel or someone of that nature. I wouldn't like to see it because I liked him at Oregon, and I don't want to kind of just throw some dislike on a kid for very little reason, just because he pulls on the black and gold. But no, I don't think either of those guys is the option. I think we know that. I think they know it too. So I think Cleveland can get shy a QB in New Orleans nearer the season, or even after a couple of weeks, because the Saints are slow in learning these lessons. It's going to take them a few good big shots before they realise, wait, nah. So,
but they'll still bring their best game when they play against the Falcons, because that's effectively their Super Bowl now. Their Super Bowl is to beat us. That's it. You know what I mean? So, But
And that's what I says to my mum to kind of get into the Dallas thing for the weekend. I was kidding her on, and I says, "Oh, well, we've got a show tonight talking about the game against your boys tomorrow." And she went,
yeah,
"Oh, well, don't be too mad when we beat yous." And I went, "Oh, do you know what? I wouldn't be too mad if you beat us because it's only pre-season, and that's where you hang your Stetsons because you haven't been relevant after that for a minute."
did you see the recent comments today from Jerry Jones?
No, please
Oh,
enlighten me.
right. So he's on Fox, I think it's Fox Sport, and they're talking about the Micah Parsons situation. And he said, listen, we love Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons need to understand that it's a team game. And effectively, he needs to understand that we need to have other players, other good players in other positions to help him out. And effectively, when you hear what he says, it's all about Micah Parsons. You need to understand that you can ask this amount for your contract because we then need to put other players around you to help you out. And and he literally said that on live national TV. Now,
if you want to talk about live national TV, you've got Micah up here twerking, so make it make sense. It's like, do you want paid $40 million, or are you just trolling at this point? I almost feel like he's just.
Was this so? I seen the video. Well, I just assumed it was some from history.
No, apparently it's recent. I'm looking for more details into that. So if anybody knows, please drop it down in the chat. But yeah, grown man is twerking. So I'm like, I really hope he's trolling here, and he's just like, nah, I'm out with this. So I don't know, to be honest. Good to see you in the chat down there, Xavier. Some red and blacks as always. We love to see it. But yeah, so to get into the main crux of the show, there's been so much to talk about, and we did warn you that the shows were going to get more in depth as the season rolled around, and to that we hold, because we're about to bring up one of the main sort of talking points for tonight, which is so Tory McElhaney has released our 53-man roster. So what we're going to do, I've got it up here in front of me. We're going to have a wee look at the offense and defensive choices that she's made, see maybe where we differ. So yeah, let's have a look into that. We've seen this on Twitter and Instagram again. The beauty of social media. But there's the post for it there. So yeah, the 53-man roster from Tory, who, as you know, she makes her job a whole lot easier. As one of the big time sort of major writers over there. But just looking here, looking out for Terran's and Will McFadden's picks as well, which we can dissect at a later date. But just looking at this one here, 3 quarterbacks, Penix, Cousins, and Stick. Only keeping 2 running backs and cutting Carlos Washington, although I would keep Nathan Carter. There's no mention of him.
Yeah, I would definitely. It's. I'm sorry, but you can't go with just 2 running backs.
No,
I mean, when you look, I don't think historically. Well, yeah, you've always had Avery Williams, who was a running back. You always had Avery Williams. He was literally the return specialist. So effectively, that was your 3rd running back. So
or somebody like Cordarrelle Patterson or something, who's a returner, who is also a running back.
They always had 3 running backs. So I honestly think Nathan Carter. Again, I was listening to the Falcaholic today, and they were talking about Nathan Carter and how different he is to effectively Bijan and Tyler Algier. It's more speed. Tyler Algier's power, and effectively Bijan's movement. So I don't know. I mean, I think again, it slips in my mind. Has Nathan Carter worked on special teams?
To my knowledge,
Let me have a look at the depth chart. So,
I think he's listed as returner 5, he was last week.
Yeah, kick returner. So Jamal Agnew, Ray McLeod, Mike Hughes, Natron Brooks, Elijah Dotson, and D Alford and Nathan Carter. So effectively, I mean, when you look at Avery Williams was on it really for his return as a return specialist, but he did come into the game now and again with as a running back. So I would go with Shree, especially when you see how like the sledgehammer that Taylor Algier is. That there's, listen, I'll hands up and I'll pray that it never happens. But how Taylor Algier's never had a concussion, I don't know, because he literally puts his head down. He just smacks in there. So he's
it's
obviously,
a tough, as you say, like again for covering your arse, so to speak, when it comes to injuries. That style of running you need to be built for, because it's in a lot of cases it's not sustainable. But another thing, as we say here, that's really getting to me is the amount of receivers that are going to end up in the practice squad. I can see 6 listed here: London, Mooney, McLeod, Hodge, Washington, and Agnew. So that would mean that Sills, Blair, Drummond, Nash, Jesse Matthews. That's potentially 4 or 5 receivers on the practice squad. At least probably 3 of those guys, Blair, Drummond, and Nash, you would probably see making the practice squad again. But one of your guys again at tight end, so your Tegan Quatoriano has made the cut.
Yeah, I think, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, looking at the game last week, obviously they're trying to get him some reps at special teams as well. You know what I mean? But again, from my point of view, the big question is if Darnell Mooney isn't back for week 1. Are you just going, if you're picking 6 wide receivers, are you effectively starting the season with 5 wide receivers? Or are you putting Darnell Mooney injury reserve or pup and then bringing maybe Chris Blair into the team? So
yeah, because there was conversation about that, because the pup status might be, I mean, you can only have pup status on one player at a time, and it looks like Troy Anderson's progressing to the stage where maybe that could be rescinded. They did say that they were hoping that he would make an impact upon coming in towards like the real snaps. So that's looking like that could be the plan for him. So hopefully that all goes according to plan. Another disagreement here, I'm just going to come out and say it, is this offensive line group. So essentially only 8 being kept. The 5 obvious names, so Matthews, Bergeron, Nuzzel, Lindstrom, McGarry, Storm Norton, Elijah Wilkinson, Jovan Gwynn, cutting Kyle Hinton, cutting Jack Nelson. Now, knowing that Hinton's been there for a few seasons, that's not the choice I would make, keeping Gwynn over him. Nor would it be my choice to let Jack Nelson go, given the fact that, he's a 7th rounder, but I feel like he can be developed. Whereas Jovan Gwynn, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced in the least.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I think that Jovan Gwynn, I think, is down to the fact that you need effectively a centre backup, and he's your centre backup. Am I loving the fact that he's our centre backup? I don't think so. I don't think we've seen enough good play from him to say that you want him in as a backup. But you then look at they brought in Jake Hansen. So again, have they brought Jake Hansen in because what they've seen from Jovan Gwynn in preseason, they're not happy with that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It does kind of lead you to ask those questions. I mean, because from what we've seen, I mean, I know it's only a very limited sample size, but from what we've seen in the games against Detroit and Tennessee, definitely not the option that you want at centre. I don't know too much about Jake Hansen's pedigree, but as I say, if in my opinion, it wouldn't take too much for me to be convinced that he was worthy of centre 2 at this point. So that kind of rounds out the offense and
what
things. But how?
What
I
I
mean,
would
how
say,
you feel?
Will, is if we don't see, I would be surprised if in the next couple hours or tomorrow morning we don't see a couple of more signings from Terry Fontenot, because effectively, if you look at the O-line and you look at the injuries, they need to bring in some starting caliber players. You know what I mean? They really, he effectively needs to go into that wee room where all the scouts all hide, with all their wall charts and everything, and work out who the best O-line guys are out there that are available. Because again, we said it before in a couple other shows, when you actually go into the depth of this whole line, it gets a wee bit, you get a wee bit anxious, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And effectively,
it doesn't make for great reading.
yeah, and again, when you look at the injury to Caleb McGarry, there's not a chance that Caleb McGarry. I mean, if you're getting took away for an MRI, it's bad enough that you're not starting week 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, it's
And
a
he's
case
not got
of,
there on his own power either. He had to be taken to the MRI.
yeah.
So that's making me feel like this is going to be one that's a bit touch and go for. I think we're talking weeks at this point, and we're running out of time. So we really need to, as I say, have a serious talk. Maybe tomorrow before the game, if something's not been done by then, just amongst ourselves about what the next call would be. Is it switching? I mean, as I say, there's a couple of ways you could go. Do you switch Bergeron over and bring in an interior lineman if there's more guys there that are looking nice? Or do you bring in a pure tackle and keep him at guard? There's a few different ways you could do it, but I mean, what's appealing to you most? I mean, what would be your strategy?
I think what we need to do is, I think if Elijah Wilkinson is playing tomorrow night, you need to look and see what position he's playing, because if he's playing at left guard, then there's a possibility that they're actually playing him at left guard to give him the reps so that Matthew Bergeron moves to Caleb McGarry's spot. Now, effectively, if it was me, I would move Bergeron to Caleb McGarry's spot, and then I'd bring. I think as a backup, Elijah Wilkinson's probably one of the better backups behind Storm Norton. You know what I mean? So if I'm putting anybody in that O-line, I'm bringing up Elijah Wilkinson, but I'm putting him into the position that he's used to, which is effectively
left guard. Yeah,
left guard. So, and again, I think Bergeron's had enough play in the last few seasons in the NFL. He obviously done the other positions at college. So, I mean, we actually moved him to his current position. You know what I mean? So effectively, he always was a tackle, and we moved him to guard. So,
and it's not like he lacks size. I mean, some people say he's more sized to be a guard, but I don't think that's necessarily true when he's 6'5" and 321. So I mean, that's every bit as big as some tackles.
Yeah.
So I mean,
as I say, the depth is just not there, and we've been saying it from. I mean, if we're saying it again, I don't profess to be an NFL guru. All I can do is I can look and see what I see in the game, and I can look at the effectively the roster and see where I see the issues. And you've been able to see for a long time that the O-line, the depth in the O-line, and you see it with the two preseason games, that the O-line is just. I mean, it's been, the first game was bad. Last week was really bad. And if this is starters, if this is players that are then going on to become starters, then again it goes back to what I said last Saturday. That effectively, why are they not playing some of these players with the starters? Why are they not bringing in like the Elijah Wilkinsons and playing them for 1 or 2 snaps with some of the starters? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, you can understand that injuries can happen, but we've seen this week that injuries happen. They'll happen anyway, whether it's in training camp or whether it's on the field. But that would then allow us, if we had done a couple of snaps over the last 2 preseason games, and then had somebody like Elijah Wilkinson or one of the other backups like Javon Gwynn, and brought them in and have had the main players in the O-line, and then have Javon Gwynn put into centre and take Ryan Nuzzo out, you can then see with competent players around them how he's going to work. The problem we've got is that when we're watching these O-line, when we're watching the O-line in pre-season, it's all backups. So if there's a weakness here and there's a weakness here, how can you see how good he's going to be as a centre when he's? I mean, we've seen it before when you see some players on a really, really bad O-line and then they sign, go somewhere else, and they're one of the best players in that position in the NFL. It's just the fact that because they've been in such a weak O-line and the team that they were in, they had to actually look at other players and work with the weakness that the other players had. So instead of that guy doing his own job, he's trying to help this guy because this guy's constantly getting his arse handed to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like, as you say, like there's been plenty of that in terms of, we're getting Nickelback from Bowman, we're getting Kobe Bryant in there, we're getting all these different guys in with the first team, and it seems like the one place where we've not been making that rotation to get these guys in with the starters is on the offensive line. And that's one of the positions where, funnily enough, as this off seasons went on, is one of the places where we could have used it. But Falcon's going to Falcon, as you know. It's nothing new to us that are more seasoned fans. But let's get into the defense now. So this is one thing that I thought to start off is looking great. So again, Tori's not cutting a single defensive interior lineman here. She's David Onyemata, Rook, Zach Harrison, Brandon Dorless, TQ Graham, Laquelle London, Morgan Frox, and Kentavious Street. So even Simeon Barrow Jr., she's saying, would make the practice squad. And I feel like we've done so much to get this group in place. And the same with the edge rushers. Khalid Kareem would be a tough cut. But if you've got Ebiketie, Floyd, Pierce, Walker, and Trice, in addition to those IDLs, I feel like we've got more than enough to be working with. I think that cutting any of them would be counterintuitive. How do you feel, Des?
Yeah, and again, it just shows you how far we've came. That effectively our top edges are Onyemata, Jalen Walker, and James Pierce. Now, I know we haven't seen them, but again, we've been at a position where we've literally looked at, in the pre-season before, we've looked at our edge and we've thought to ourselves, who is going to be our edge? Who's going to be our number one edge? Because the play was so bad. Obviously, you see that we brought some players in, and probably the only player that we really brought in was that done well was Campbell. You know what I mean? And he only came in. He was at a certain age in his career. You know what I mean? He'd done everything, but when you look where we are now, and as you say, there's going to be some players that we're putting into the practice squad. And I said before in a few other shows, we need to get used to our practice squad getting decimated by teams coming in and effectively taking our players. Some we've not been used to for a long time. But I think this season there's going to be a lot of like Khalid Kareem. I mean, if he goes to the practice squad, somebody snap him up. I don't even think he's going to clear waivers. You know what I mean? So
no, and I feel like the same could be said for Simeon Barrow. He plays a style of offense that's suited to Florida and California teams. So I could see a Miami, a Tampa Bay, or maybe a San Francisco or a Seattle coming in and taking him. So I don't think we've got much to worry. Well, from the players' standpoint, I don't think they have much to worry about. From a team standpoint, I worry about how much we can really realistically hold on to in terms of these practice squad guys.
And again, how good is it the fact that we're looking at players and thinking, who can we cut? Who's not going to get picked up?
100%.
So you're actually trying to. It's like you're playing poker. It's a case of, if I put them in, are they going to get snapped up? Now, you never know. You know what I mean? But we're now at a point where, if you look back to the practice squad last year and the year before. You know what I mean? How many players in that? I remember one of the draftees. What was the guy's name that get picked off the practice squad? It was one of your draftees.
The name escapes me now.
But again, very rarely did you hear anybody getting signed from our practice squad.
Yeah.
But I think this season it's going to be different. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that just shows you the benefit of how strong this roster is. But that's with a but there is some parts of the roster that we need a wee bit more depth.
Yeah, and here's one, not necessarily depth, but here's one with a big asterisk. And I'm just learning things here. So, as I say, we don't pretend to sit here and be the gurus. We will teach you what we can, but we are still learning. Everyone is. So, according to the PUP rules, if we activate Troy Anderson by the end of preseason, he must miss at least 4 games. So, I mean, if he's on IR, and he's on the active roster, he would be just not available. So we need to be careful about when we activate him. So we could be looking at later on in the 2025 season for Troy Anderson, if at all. And if I'm thinking if at all, I'm strongly considering cutting that man, given the fact that we've got Caden Ellis, Divine Diablo, JD Bertrand, and D'Angelo Malone all listed as inside backers. I feel like he's surplus to requirement as well. I know you've said you were wanting to see how he would get on and if he could make the squad, but surely now with the guys that we've got and the choices that we're having to make, are you thinking differently about that too yet, Des, or are you think there's still more time?
Well, what is it you say? The best ability is availability?
Yep.
I mean, if he's injured and we can't see him and we can't play him, I mean, it's not as if this is the first time that he's been injured. I mean, no. we're looking at O-line, and we're looking at Caleb McGarry, who's literally missed 2 games out of 60 games. You know what I mean? And all the times. I mean, Troy Anderson missed most of last season. He's injured again today, just now, and he's going to probably miss the start of this season. Listen, I love the story. He came from Montana. He used to be the quarterback, all that kind of stuff, and I mean, I love the story, but there comes a point where effectively you just need to cut your losses and just make the decision that you need to move on to players that are going to be available, players that are not actually injury prone.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. But as I say, talking about some of these tough cuts again, like it's tricky, especially when you get into the secondary, because as Tori explains it, it's all pretty obvious from a safety perspective. And I would agree. She's taken 4 with Jesse Bates, Xavier Watts, Jordan Fuller, DeMarco Helms. The only question there would be who is your other starter opposite Jesse. But your caveats start to come in when you talk about cornerback. AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes, Dee Alford, Billy Bowman Jr., Natron Brooks, and Mike Ford. The tough cuts being Clark Phillips and CJ Henderson. Now, I feel like that's maybe slightly too early to say because I'll see how he does against Dallas. But at the moment, again, you're talking about probably making it onto the practice squad again. But again, when you're talking about secondaries, Des, that's some players that you don't want to be talking about cutting that we're talking about cutting.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, CJ Henderson, it's too early. I mean, you're hearing on the grapevine that Raheem Morris loves this guy, thinks he's a fantastic player. And again, it's nothing like the egos of coaches that they believe that they're going to be the coach, and Atlanta's going to be the team that gets the best out of these players. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, it was round one, pick 9, CJ Henderson. You know what I mean? I mean, the talent is there. Whatever's happened, as I say, when you look at his record, he was in Jacksonville Jaguars, 28 to 20 to 21. Then he went to the Carolina Panthers. Then he was on the Houston Texans practice squad. There he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when you look at that, I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars and then the Carolina Panthers. So effectively, you've slapped the if you're CJ Henderson, you're playing for two teams at that point that weren't competing. So again, you've lost that will that you're not competing because you're constantly losing week in, week out. He's now came to a team. He went to Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how he went there, but he's now came to a team who can compete. And again, nothing gets the juices flowing like competition and being able to compete. So let's hope CJ Henderson, effective, as I say, he maybe is cornerback one. Maybe it was a bit too high for him, but he's got AJ Terrell there. He's got Mike Hughes. You know what I mean? Effectively, his cornerback three, it might work for him. The pressure's not on him as much. He's got really, really good players around him. So let's hope it works. What I would say as well is Clark Phillips, again, we've had the chat that we think that there's a possibility he goes to practice squad, and I would say, yeah, he's definitely going to the practice squad. I don't think I've seen enough from him. You've not heard a lot about training camp. That was one of the players we early on in our shows I had mentioned that I thought was going to be on the brink of the practice squad, and nothing's changed in the training camp and what I've seen.
Yeah. And I feel like if it's been one of those off seasons, Des, where I feel like if we've been saying from week one about, I don't think this guy's going to make I think we're talking about him on the fringes. These have been the guys in a lot of cases that we've not really seen much wiggle room on. So I completely agree with that.
And again, you had DeMarco Hellams, who we discussed as well, but he then came out in the first game and literally poleaxed the guy. And again, you could see the passion, you could see the aggression that effectively Jeff Ulbrich wants. So there's no doubt that DeMarco Hellams is making this roster. You know
no, 100%. You'd be mad to leave him on a practice squad. He comes with a will and a fire that I love.
Absolutely.
And then just finishing it out, as you say, for the 53/54 would be your special teamers. So Young Waku, Bradley Pinion, Liam McCullough, and the international exemption spot for Lenny Krieg. So we do get to run with the two kickers. So, I mean, as I say, there's a few talking points and a few places where I'm like, maybe we wouldn't go 100% there, or there's a few caveats here and there. But I feel like kudos to Tori. She's done a really great job there of breaking down this team for us and letting us know kind of what to expect. So now that with that being said, the actual roster's been discussed. So let's break down the depth charts for the game at the weekend. So let's talk about this Cowboys game. I know a lot of it's been kind of sprinkled throughout the show. Who will we see? Who won't we see? So we'll just do this in passing while I'm setting some more stuff up, Des. So if there's any names that we've maybe not mentioned that you think could have a serious contribution tomorrow night, then let us know.
You mentioned him earlier, Nick Nash. I would love to see Nick Nash again. Want to see a wee bit more of Dylan Drummond. Again, obviously we've brought in Ben DiNucci, so let's see what he can do. Again, when you look at the running backs, Nathan Carter, Elijah Dotson, I don't think we got a chance really because of the O-line play to really see what he could do. But again, you then look, obviously, we brought in Ronnie Perkins, which is edge, and again, see what he can do. Ronnie Harrison, and obviously you've got CJ Henderson. So, I mean, there's. I mean, you look at like Mike Ford again. Is he going to play? You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's a lot to look out for in this game. As Raheem said, it's the get onto the roster game.
Yeah, and as I say, for guys like when you say about getting onto the roster and how we're using that, I mean that's something that's a tagline for one of the sections to close up. Is essentially this is all about can you solidify your spot in the roster? So I'm gonna drop a name in there again that I've been shouting out. It started positively and it's gotten more and more downhill as he's shown some of his limitations. But I want to see more from Jack Nelson. If you want to be here developing on this roster, I need to see better discipline and I need to see just more consistency in terms of your, especially run blocking, because we were not blocking well to give Nathan Carter those lanes, as you say. But yeah, let's take a look at the final preseason depth chart then, and let's see what we've got in store here. So, in terms of offense, there's going to be nothing too shocking to write home about. Jake Hansen's listed at centre 4 because after Gwyn, you have Joshua Gray, who's a name not familiar to me, but I'm all for competition. As I say, Joshua Simon, who's again somebody I'd like to see more from. Before we make the decision to just practice squad the guy, I want to see some more of what he's capable of as well. As I say, see a little bit of what Ben DiNucci's got, and then Nick Nash and Dylan Drummond as well. Do you see anything offensively that we've not mentioned? I mean, Jesse Matthews is in there right behind Casey Washington, so maybe he could have another part to play tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Felipe Franks as well at tight end. Although if I had my choice, Arthur's son wouldn't he be playing? So, as I say, there's going to be names. I mean, you've got Joshua Corbin as well at running back. Are we going to see him? But again, I guarantee you'll probably get a couple of signings in the morning from the Atlanta Falcons, and they'll go into the squad as well. So I know Kevin Knight from the Falcoholics always say that once you're at the third preseason game, you're really ready for the first main game. And you're at that point. You just don't want it. You're literally crossing your fingers, no injuries to the starters. And you just want to get to the first game completely clean, injury wise, which
clean, healthy, and as you say, I don't think it's rare to kind of. It's silly to put the pressure on it, but it's rare to think that you're going to get through a full off-season, pre-season schedule unscathed. Especially in some certain positions. Because I mean, looking at this defense, there's an interesting one in so much as Ronnie Harrison was signed as a safety, but if you look here, he's listed at inside linebacker. So this is what I was telling you a couple of shows ago about some of these guys playing as what we would call dogs in the UK, which is a hybrid between sort of an outside backer and a strong safety. So it looks like we're maybe going to be trying some of that against Dallas, because we bring this guy in and then the position changes. So I think we've seen a skill set here that we've liked. Obviously, we've seen that with DeMarco Helms as well. We like smaller guys that will come down into the box and mix it up with some of these tackles and fullbacks and tight ends. So, there's a lot to like. The one thing I would say, Clark Phillips is still listed as second corner as well. And I feel like a big thing there is he going to be able to contribute and earn these spot on the 53?
Yeah, but again, they've got CJ Henderson as cornerback 5. So I mean, effectively, this is the issue we've got with some of these new signings. We don't know what potential they've got, because
Yeah.
all the new signings come in and they're effectively at the back of the depth chart. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
CJ Henderson and you're watching a preseason game and you're up against the Dallas Cowboys, which, I mean, listen, I'm not a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys, but the one thing is they get an audience. So if you're CJ Henderson, you've got two things in your head: either I play absolutely out of my skin and the Falcons keep me on the roster and I make the 53, or I play out my skin, the Falcons put me to practice squad and somebody picks me up for another team. You know what I mean?
100%. It's like the opportunity is there. It's what you do with it, so to speak. So if we are not going to sign you, then I'm all for guys using us to further their own career. If they can get an offer, then brilliant for them. I mean, I know there's guys that we would like to ideally keep in that practice squad mix up so that we've got access to them. But I mean, if I'm all for these guys getting paid. If you think you can go and get an offer somewhere else, then by all means.
I mean, I'm telling you now, I think if CJ Henderson plays tomorrow night, I think he's going to light up the park. I really do. I mean, he's still only 26. You know what I mean?
I think he's going to remind people, like, as I say, no draft picks guaranteed. And I mean, we were talking about the lower draft picks that they're not guaranteed to hit. No, even the first rounders are guaranteed to hit. And I mean, especially when you're taking in the first 10 picks, you're going to a franchise that chances are has been, at least last season or for the last few years, not up to par. And I mean, he's went from Jacksonville to onto Carolina, onto Houston, which again have had their issues over recent years. So now that he's got a team around him, let's see what he can do. But we always try to be diplomatic on this show, and that we're Falcons diehards. So it's for nothing other than, as I say, the old teachings from Sun Tzu. It's best to know your enemy if you're going to know how to defeat them. So we've also got this Dallas Cowboys depth chart, but I've got a nice wee visual. I don't think I showed it earlier on in the show, but I thought it was pretty fire, which was this one here.
I get the thought that this is hate week for you.
A little bit.
So like, obviously my hate weeks when we're against the Aints, you know what I mean? So but it seems to be that I feel as if we need to get Sigmund Freud in here to find out what your relationship with your mother was, because I think she's put you through the ringer when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I mean? So
I feel like we're gonna need a bit more time. That's more for kind of Maggie's mental health space on a Monday. Would you like to lie down on the couch and tell me more about it? but yeah, no, I love my mum, but I hate her fucking team. I've told her this many times. She managed to convince me to become a Longhorn, so I'll rep the Texas Longhorns for as long as the day is. But I could never, like, I feel like I've opened myself up to enough pain and suffering by choosing Atlanta. I really don't want the memes associated with me that Dallas have brought on themselves the past sort of 25 years. But so it is a little bit of a rivalry week for me. As I say, she's already getting the trash talk in there. I don't be too mad when we beat these, and it's like, when's the last time you beat anybody that wasn't in preseason that mattered? So yeah, if there's any Cowboys fans in the chat, I don't know why you'd be mad enough to come in here, but if you want to take your shots, we're here for it, because we will see you tomorrow night, and we've got some special things lined up just for you. But yeah, I'd sort out your twerking linebackers before you start looking at us. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I would sort out your contract for your twerking linebacker first before you come at us. You know what I mean? Listen,
maybe if you paid him, he wouldn't feel the need to twerk. Maybe he's trying to get NIL deals in on it. So it's like, if you don't want him going and doing OnlyFans and you want him actually doing the job you paid him to do, then you might want to start looking at that checkbook, Jerry.
Micah Parsons OnlyFans. You know what I mean?
There's got to be some people that sign up for that, but I ain't one. Just,
Listen,
but,
see, to be honest, see when you see what some of the OnlyFans people are making, it'd probably make his 40 million no bother doing that, you know what I mean?
yeah, see, to be fair, it's like, say what you want. I mean, you wouldn't have to put your body through quite as much as you do as an NFL player, and you'd probably be paid just as well or better. So
I,
let that say what it will about the world we live in. But
I can just see Jerry Jones having a mental breakdown on national TV, telling everybody that Micah Parsons has quit the Dallas Cowboys because he's going to start an OnlyFans channel. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
well,
$25 a twerk. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I mean, I heard they got confused. They wanted to call the Dallas Cowboys new TV station OnlyFans, and I went, no, that would be Only Fannies. But but
I mean,
but yeah. But that being said, like the roster doesn't. Sorry.
Yeah, the one thing I love about Dallas Cowboys is that effectively they write their own press. I mean,
Yeah.
If you're a beat reporter about and you're writing about the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, you're never walking into a newsroom and think to yourself, do you know what? What am I going to write about today? It's effectively walking into the newsroom. It's like, what did Jerry Jones say today? And
100%.
Away we go.
Like this is the thing, and you can add it to the fact that I've said many times I don't mind the grind, because at least when you do a Falcons podcast, your script's only written for you. But yeah, just looking at this depth chart from Dallas and what they're offering, I mean, we're going to see some Javonte Williams, perhaps, but I think we're mainly going to be dealing with Miles Sanders. So again, if we can keep the offense guessing, just keep mixing it up as we like to do, keep that rotation going, getting some of those guys in there, your Braylon Trices, your D'Angelo Malones, Divine Diablos. I don't think Dallas has got anything, especially not considering we're seeing backups. I'm intrigued to see what we can do against this new starting tackle / guard. So I want to see what Tyler Booker can do against us. But I feel like we've got too many different packages and groups of personnel that I think we close out preseason with a win. And I'm gonna die on that. How about you, Des?
Yeah, listen, Mo. For me, it's preseason. Whatever happens in the game, I just want to see development. That's what I want. I want to see players that are taking their chance. As Raheem Morris says, it's get into the roster game. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm looking at the Dallas depth chart, and I'm saying to myself, who are we going to see at quarterback? Are we going to see Joe Milton? Or are we going to see Will Greer? I know we're not going to see Dak Prescott. So again, that's that, because I've seemingly Joe Milton's been doing literally popping the ball quite well down the field in practice. So again, it's for me, I would prefer to see Joe Milton, because it will give our secondary a wee bit of a chance, because I think he likes the long ball. So
yeah, and from what I've seen and from Will Greer, he's the little bit of a sample size we got from him in Carolina, and Houston tells me that I'm not worried about Will Greer. I'm no. I would rather put our defensive front against somebody who's at least going to make us work and do a little bit flexes and adjustments and things like that. So I reckon we see Milton, and I reckon we see. I mean, he's still got some moves. I reckon we see Miles Sanders coming out of the backfield, at least for the first half. But yeah, I don't think, as I say, we're being pre-season, that they're thinking the same thing that we are. They're not caring about 0-3 versus being ready to take the field week one with a healthy, solidified lineup.
yeah.
I'm not going to say it's the be all and end all, but I will throw into the mix one more time that it's always good to smash the Cowboys. It will always be lovely to smash the Cowboys. So
the other thing as well. Let's hope Dante Fowler Jr. doesn't come back and haunt us.
Oh yeah,
because
we could do without that.
because effectively, I think Atlanta Falcons was the only team that he looked woeful. He
Hmm.
left us, went to, I think, was it was it Pittsburgh Steelers or something, and lit it
I
up.
think so.
Had like,
Pittsburgh.
had like
Yeah.
4 or 5 sacks. You know, I mean, he couldn't buy a sack with us, so
It's
um,
just funny how things work out. And we were talking earlier about when you're struggling going and finding a scheme that's going to work for you. And as I say, that appears to have been case in point. So yeah. But now that we've discussed, I mean, our depth as it pertains to the coming game, Dallas's depth as it pertains to the coming game. So we're going to do a little bit about around the league to before we open up the Q&As. So first off, there's been no home for Justin Simmons as yet, but former Falcons pass rusher Matthew Judon has been picked up. It's the Miami Dolphins on a 1-year deal worth $6 million. And I feel like that's what happens with our pass rushers. If they can't do it for us anymore, they'll go and do a year in Miami. So I don't think this is anything new to me. But I mean, should we be excited, Des? I don't feel much of it myself.
yeah, I remember last year we signed Justin Simmons and Matthew Judon, and it was like, I don't think there was any two signings that there was any fans against. I mean, we
Yeah.
looked at this and we thought to ourselves, we finally got ourselves a pass rush, and the defense, it literally just overnight, it just jumped 10-15%.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin Simmons, I think, done okay, but Matthew Judon, but again, I've said with Dante Fowler Jr., Atlanta Falcons was the only team where he looked really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably be the same with Matthew Judon. He'll probably go to Miami and blow it up. You know what I mean? So it's, as you say, the Falcons keep on falconing you. So I don't
Yeah.
know what it is in the Atlanta water, but yeah, listen, he'll always be an Atlanta player, but to what he got, I think he got 8 million for
Mm-hmm.
us. There wasn't it wasn't value for money, to be honest. So
No,
um,
I mean his commodities fallen to a level where I feel like even at 6 million, he's still getting more than he probably should. I feel like his contribution levels were saying more like maybe 4.5, if that. Because I
yeah,
mean, I know that he wants maybe one more payday before he calls it quits. He feel like he's got something more to show after his long run in New England. And I mean, I'm all for, as I say, guys, if they feel like they've still got something to prove, but. For me, not at 6 million. I'd be offering him, as I say, more like maybe 4.5. But I'm all again for team friendly deals and things of that nature. So you can slice that how you will as well.
as you said earlier, mate, let Terry cook. You know what I mean? If there's a
Yeah,
player out there that he thinks is going to make a difference, he'll get him. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah. And then, as I say, before we get into the kind of wind downs and the Q&As and things like this, there's a few sort of big touching points that we've seen Falcons fans have their panties in a bunch, so to speak, over this last week. And this is the first one. So around the NFL, we've not been playing our starters, and we shouldn't be. And here's why. So I have a perfectly good example here of Jalen Walker kitted for a game, but not actually going onto the field to perform. I'm using this as an example because getting these guys ready for game atmosphere and getting them ready for real snaps is two different things. You can get them all ready to be a professional football player before the ball's ever snapped, and that's what we are trying to do with things like this. But it particularly boils down to these two gentlemen, Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins. And I mean, we've done the long and short of it, I feel. So this is probably going to be one of the last times we're really talking about it, Des. But just to slice it up one more time for the fans, there is no good to be had from playing either Penix, given his sample size, how he's played in camp, and for Kirk, given his injury, given his advanced age, given his mentor status. There is no reason that we should have seen either of these two men at any point during pre-season. And you're welcome to stop me if I'm lying.
No, what benefit? I mean, there's no benefit. From my point of view, Michael Penix Jr. got the last 3 games last year, and we've seen what he could do. He's lighting it up in training camp so the coaches can see what he can do. He was lighting it up with this scrimmages with the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I understand that people say that it needs to be live game at time, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But effectively, I've said before, as you look at Joe Burrows, and we talked about Joe Burrows earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
there's players there that are looking at this and thinking, I want to be the guy that sacks Joe Burrow. And they're effectively, they don't care how they sack him. They don't care how they go in on him. They don't care whether they roll over his ankle. They don't care whether they take him down. All they want on their CV is effectively, or their resume, sorry, is effectively that they sacked Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And it's no different. It's the same. I mean, I seen a thing on Twitter and it was showing the 2015 season and it was showing all the starters playing the 2015 season.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's I understand that. But again, if you look back and look at some of the injury reports that came out of the preseason games, there was a lot of injuries that happened. And there was a lot of players that effectively didn't make it to the start of the season because they were injured in the preseason games. We're seeing players getting injured in training camp, you know what I mean? And that's effectively a controlled environment.
Yeah.
So you then open that up, and I understand what a lot of people are saying. They're saying, yeah, injuries can happen anywhere, absolutely. But you're having, as Raheem says, you need to mitigate the circumstances and mitigate the possibility that there's going to be injuries.
100%. Like this is all we're trying to do is limit it, because yes, you can get hurt walking down the street. It happens. You can fall, you can trip, anything can happen. But the amount of times that it goes up by exponentially improves when you're starting to throw in even semi-live reps, because you're still wanting to show that intensity. You're still wanting to show your coaches in certain aspects that you're either ready to go at the pro level, you're ready to go again at the pro level if you're coming back from free agency, from the UFL, anything like that. So there's guys that are coming in here and they don't care. They're as I say, and their power to them, because they've obviously got to worry about their own bag and their own future and their own roster spot. So that my fault's not with the guys that are sacking Joe Burrow and throwing him to the ground. They want to make a name for themselves. My fault would be then with the backroom office for Cincinnati for putting him in that position. As I say, you're paying the guy $55 million a year. But what happens if he gets hurt and you have no backup? This is the time where you want to see, if he does get hurt during the season, who is his backup first and foremost, and is that a serviceable option? And things like that.
But again, I've seen quite a few people on Twitter talking about how, because the starters didn't start preseason last year, they came out in game 1 and they looked bad. No, they didn't look bad. Kirk Cousins was still working on his injury. That's why we looked bad. We could hardly effectively move the ball. We had Zach Robinson was effectively play calling the offense based on the mobility of his quarterback. That's how we were bad. You know what I mean? We're not going to have that this year with Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. is not coming off an injury. So straight away, there's the difference. He's not coming off an ACL injury. He's not coming off an injury. So again, he's going to start quick and he's going to start fast. So effectively, all that, all this, it's constant. We've had bad seasons because of pre-seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I 100% agree with Mad Mike there. Shout out to the Senator for dropping in and showing some love.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too much for the money you're paying. And I mean, we're not talking about 55. We're talking about 27 million. I'm still not comfortable putting Kirk in because, I mean, he's 37 and coming off an ACL, MCL, possibly both.
ACL injury, yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to your cruciate ligaments, especially when you start getting up into your 30s, that's a different conversation. I mean, yes, do I feel he can still contribute? 100%. Do I feel like giving him that time to make sure he's healthy is the most important thing to making sure that he can succeed? Also 100%. So I'm not going to throw him to the wolves here. Either of them.
I'm going to say something. You imagine Kirk Cousins behind that backup O-line.
That easy, or the shoulder's gone again. Especially if you're playing somebody who likes to hit, like New Orleans or Dallas or San Fran.
Absolutely. So if you played him in pre-season with that backup O-line, what's the chances he gets hurt? You know what I mean? So effectively, you're at a point, you're playing Kirk Cousins, you're then having to bring in the starter O-line, which again then brings up a whole host of issues, which we've seen already. People effectively thinking that the season's over because Caleb McGarry's been injured.
Yeah, you know, and how much fatigue do you want? Because, I mean, they're already talking in Game 2 and saying, this Falcons team looks a bit fatigued. Could you picture if we were playing with stars, how fatigued we'd look?
But again, it's you're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. It's a case of our break is week 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So effectively, if we play players... And all this, they're going to start slow and they're going to start, they're not going to be ready. Well, listen, it's a 17-game or an 18-week season, so a 17-game season. Yeah, if we lose the first game, it's against Tampa Bay, but we play them again and we've got another 16 games to play. You know what I mean?
One loss doesn't decide the season, just like one win doesn't. And I mean, we did say that when we done the 11-6, 12-5 ceiling. We allowed for those wins. We'll take our feet off the throats of the South. It's what we do. But as I say, we can allow for these wins if consistency's there, and that's what we need to strive for.
What I would say is the worst thing in starting slow is starting without half your players that are all on injury, and you've got backups playing and the starter. Can we not learn from how bad our team has been in the last couple of years? What it's like to have effectively undrafted free agents in it, in your main starting team. You know what I mean? So effectively, as I say, the people that are screaming for all the starters to play are the same people that are literally having a heart attack because Caleb McGarry's got an injury. I mean, these things happen. You know what I mean? We work with
at the same time, they're big boys and they're paid to be professional football players, so they know the ins and outs of what that entails. So I don't feel like. I feel like we know what it is, but it's what side of the fence do you want to be on? Do you want to protect your players and get them ready for regular season? You will have a bunch. Inevitably, you've had at least 4 or 5, maybe more, 6, 7, 8, 9, even more draft picks that you need to get ready. So you're implementing a lot of these young guys and things like this as well. So working out a balance, trying to avoid injuries. It's all really 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, to take a Scottish saying. It's how many of your eggs do you want to put in each basket, because choices have to be made, and caveats will arise off the back of that. But that's the sport we love, I guess.
I mean, what I would say is look back and look at some of the sacks on Eastern Stick. and then imagine that's Michael Penix Jr. or Kirk Cousins, and you think to yourself, you're literally sitting there going like that. Why would Raheem Morris put the two players that we know what they can do through that? It's the same with Joe Burrow. Why would you put Joe Burrow through that? You know what Joe Burrow's going to do. You don't need to watch him.
Yeah, and shout out to you, Des, because you said this earlier, and Mad Mike says it on the show today as well, and I think it hit the nail right on the head. You would complain if he did. If he puts Michael Penix on the field and he gets
injured
and end around, bang, shoulder out, you're coming for Raheem's head. So make it make sense for me, Falcons fans. How can we need to play these? Because some of you are saying it's a need. We need to play these players in pre-season. Yeah. Then if they get hurt, whose fault is it? Nah, I'd just sooner not have that conversation.
But it's a hindsight, boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're literally watching. They don't say anything. And then when something happens, it's like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Well, no, you didn't, because nobody knew it was going to happen. But effectively, if you're constantly looking to trade away your number 2 quarterback to effectively get 27 million off your cap, which I believe is a big mistake. I would rather pay the 27 and have him in the team. Yeah. You're not going to risk that. You're not going to risk having a player on effectively injury IR effectively all season and still have to pay him 27 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and let's be frank. I mean, as I say, we always try to keep it 100 and really give the fans the true takes. So, I mean, even if you can free up that 27 million, yeah, okay, probably you use maybe 5-6 million to bring in a tackle. Maybe you use in maybe another 4 or 5 million and bring in a defensive interior man, maybe a Christian Wilkins, somebody like that. But say then you're left with 20 of this 27, 17 mil. You're not going to get anyone even remotely close to the quality of a Kirk Cousins for that. But
that's what people don't understand. Easton Stick is not a number 2 quarterback. I'm sorry.
No.
So effectively, we let Kirk Cousins go. We're having to sign a competent quarterback that's going to be anywhere between 5, 8, or 10 million.
Yeah, and check that free agency pool again. The names are not reading too nicely. There's not much in there QB-wise about that.
But the other thing to look at it, well, we saved that 27 million, right? You tell me now, who is available? What players are available out there now that for all that money that we could bring in, that's going to make such a big difference to our team? You know what I mean? You've got Micah Parsons, who is not going to leave Dallas. Micah Parsons is going to get probably the best contract you're ever going to get, and he's going to stay in Dallas. So again, it's all the crap about Lamar Jackson was available when he was never ever available.
The only people that really even enter the conversation for me for who can we still get to improve would be kicking maybe an extra one of these bigger edges inside and bringing in a Hendrickson.
Yeah.
But at the same time, £27 million backup quarterback, Trey Hendrickson, given that we've got a good and improving defense, I'm probably still sticking with Kirk. As good as Trey Hendrickson is.
And as Mad Mike said, he agrees. He's saying I don't think there's a quality player available at this point in time, and I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
You effectively saved 27 million for Kirk Cousins, and you're just sitting with that. What then happens is, if you've got 27 million on your cap at the end of the year, it then jumps into the cap for next year. So that's fine. I understand that, but it's not going to improve anything this year. What will improve something this year is if, God forbid, Michael Penix Jr. gets an injury. We've then got Kirk Cousins, who has been balling out in training camp. We've then got Kirk Cousins to move in and take his place. And I guarantee you, the Kirk Cousins, if Michael Penix Jr. does get injured, God forbid that happens, touch wood.
Touch wood.
The Kirk Cousins that steps in it'll be nothing like the Kirk Cousins we've seen last year. He'll be determined that he's going
100%.
to make a point this year. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I mean he's not as hurt because he's had the time to rehab since MPJ took over. He's had the full off season as well. As you say, he's been playing really well in camp as well. So when you really sort of break it down, you kind of look at it and you go, nah, I don't. There's so many people that want to see him out of the A and see that $27 million back in our pocket. But answer me this: you know how things go in the NFL. I don't want to. Not one of us. I can speak for Des on this one. Forgive me, but I will. I can probably speak for Mike as well. We would rather have a backup quarterback because I don't want to be in a situation where we get the 27 million back, we ship him on, and then MPJ gets hurt and we're left scrambling, and the whole season goes to shit.
But again, well, it's not 27 million saving. It's effectively 17 million saving. You look at Tyson Bagent in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just signed. He's a backup, and I think he's a backup of a backup. I don't even think. I think he's quarterback 3. He's just signed a 10 million 2-year contract. With the Bears, so that's $5 million a year for Tyson Bagent.
Yeah, it's an expensive commodity as quarterback. So for what we've got and how much we're paying, I really don't like to agree with you again. There's no way we can get better than the situation we've got.
I want to ask a question, right? Okay, we get rid of Kirk Cousins. We bring what do you call him? What's no Desmond Ridder. Taylor Heineke.
Yep.
We bring Taylor Heineke back and we pay him $6 million. Are you happy? I'm not. No. I would rather have Kirk Cousins as a backup.
You know what I mean? 100%.
This could be a special season for us. You have a backup in case anything goes wrong. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's it. Depth breeds championships, and there's no more important position, especially when you've got dynamic edge rushers that are literally screaming off that edge to take your fucking head off than a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Because these guys are going to get hurt.
You tell me anybody you tell me any quarterback that doesn't get absolutely. I mean, you seen the quarterbacks last year, and you seen Kirk Cousins. He said that from the start of the season to the end of the season, he's in pain all the time. Because he's getting battered and bashed. The only quarterback that didn't get this was the GOAT man, because he had the referee in his pocket. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as I brought up, Mucho Grande said, does Felipe Franks make the team?
No chance.
Arthurson, no. I mean, yeah. They're obviously seeing something, Mucho Grande. They're seeing something in Felipe Franks, because obviously he had a couple of seasons at the Panthers and he was playing most of the time. And they brought him back. So from my point of view, I would rather see Tegan Quatoriano as a tight end than Felipe Franks, to be fair.
And I would agree with that, Des. I feel like he's definitely not the guy I would like at tight end 3, but that's not a problem with Franks. I feel like he has certain skill sets in certain situations where he could be useful, but I just feel like we're getting too much from the other tight ends. I mean, Pitts, we've got Werner, and we've got, as you say, Quatoriano or Simon, whoever wins that tight end 3 battle. But I think no matter who wins that tight end 3 battle, you'd be looking at Franks as tight end 5. So I don't think it's very likely that he makes the 53, to be honest. I think we'll see a lot of him tomorrow, though.
We've said again, gone are the days now when players like the Felipe Franks can effectively just walk into this roster. You know what I mean? He maybe done it 2 or 3 years ago and he was on the roster, but this is a completely different time.
A different time and a different team. We're so much deeper now than we arguably have ever been before. But yeah, so that pretty much sums up everything that we wanted to say in regards to the pre-season and things like that. So I've just got one more before we get into the Q&A and start closing things down. So just for tonight, an extra special segment. So I think Des has seen both of these, but this is a little gift for all the players, personnel, staff, family members, most importantly, you, the fans of the Atlanta Falcons. So I drafted these up a little earlier on in the off season. So not just in tribute to the 60th anniversary of the Super Bowl, but also the 60th anniversary and birthday of our Dirty Birds. So here is my take on a uniform for the 60th anniversary.
Absolutely spot on, mate.
Little bit of gold in there. And then hopefully, as I say, we love to talk things into existence, Des, and will it up. So just in case, there you are. There's the 2026 Super Bowl champion ring for our Atlanta Falcons. So hopefully that's something that we can thingy. But as I say, we'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, because it's a labour of love doing wee projects like this. Well, so that's my way of giving back to the team.
I'm going to tell you something. See when we win the Super Bowl, I want there to be 283 diamonds on that fucking ring. Right? And then that'll be our 283 diamonds, and you can ram the 283 right up your rectum. That's all I'm saying. 283 diamonds.
Sounds good by me. Sounds good by me, mate. But as I say, that would truly be exercising the demons, and as I say, that would be full circle if we were to do that, or if we win the Super Bowl 28-3. Either or, especially if it's against New England. But we'll take it against anybody. We just want that ring. It's been long enough, and we've put up with enough enough shit over the decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, as I say, let's continue. I've made a special again. I've been busy boy. Today we've made a special new graphic for the Q&A section, which we'll pull up today. So there you go. So I'll just pull the wee thing down here. So yeah, come have your say. If there's anything you want to ask us, if there's anything you want to know that we maybe haven't covered in the last 2 hours and 20 minutes. But as you say, it's always good to kind of compile what we've got and sum it up for you. So there's the new graphic there for the Q&A bit. So anything you want to know, just hit us up. Your boys are always happy to talk birds and answer any queries you might have. So bring them on.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's a great graphic, mate. I again need to give shout out to you. You work hard in the background, really do, producing the show. You know what I mean? So I just stumble in from work and have a look and see what you've set up. So again, plaudits. I mean, this is our 16th show, so pre-season's nearly over. We're finally getting into the nasty part of it all, and but shout out to you, mate. You work hard in the background.
I appreciate it so much, mate, and thank you, as I say, not just to yourself, mainly to yourself for all the obviously the dedication that you've showed to me and to the brand, to the family, for coming on board. And just, as I say, you're straight in for work, straight in a shower, and straight on here with me to talk birds. So I can't thank you enough for that. And to all the guys who you will hopefully be meeting towards the end of the week or into next week. As I said in the original post for the show, for the ones in the back, you all know who you are. So I'm not going to mention you by name right now, but you'll see them coming out the woodwork as we get into the season. You'll have met some of the guys before. Just to kind of reiterate how excited we are to be working with the guys that we've chosen, and how happy we are that we've got the right team in place. So not just for the Falcons, but for the AFN and the AFN International. It's a big year to come. So I would drop to that if you are looking to join. It's not like we're closing the recruitment drive. That's a perennial thing. So contact myself, Des, Maggie through the socials. Join the Kilted Revolution. As I say, we love talking shop with you. So if you do have any questions, as I say, drop them down. But other than that, we'll start wrapping it up. We'll get to about the 2:30 mark, and then we'll start. So Des, is there anything else that you feel like we've not covered tonight that maybe you want to talk about or drop in?
No, I'm just looking forward to the game tomorrow night. I would say it's an hour later.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it starts at 1:00, which is going to be a tough one for me. So we'll effectively finish about 4:30, and I'm up at 7:00 in the morning to get to work. So it's going to be a
please, guys, for Des's grind as much as mine, you know how many 3 and 4 a.m. mornings we pull to make this stuff special for you. So please keep dropping the red and blacks down in the chat. Keep the comments, the questions, all the likes, shares, subscribes that you do coming, because as you'll notice, that is one thing I meant to say. If you go onto YouTube and search Atlanta Falcons Nation, there are now 2 channels. So you'll get the original one, the LLC channel, and then if you put in youtube.com at AFNI LLC, just the letters, that will take us to the international channel. That's where you'll find the Scottish Falcons shows. Hopefully, as I say, some of the new expansions that are coming for other parts of the world, which hopefully will be starting soon as well. So just, as I say, keep liking, sharing, subscribing, showing the love. And we'll keep striving to knock it out the park for you each and every week.
Absolutely. And again, what I would say is if you go onto YouTube and you search the Scottish Falcons, we pop up straight away.
Yep. As I say, along with a lovely wee documentary about the Peregrines actually in Scotland, which I did watch, and it's quite a good watch. So if you want to know about real Scottish Falcons, you can watch that. But if you want to know about your Scottish Falcons, then we're up pretty early. So
I don't really fly, but I know some nights after the show, well, you're flying high, so you're quite literally a Scottish Falcon. So
yeah, brother. Let's say a blackbird and more of a green bird,
absolutely.
And we'll leave that there. But yeah, as I say, if you want to get after us, we're findable on the social media, so you can search for the show. We're going to get some media up and running, possibly, but not exclusively limited to a Scottish Falcons website. So keep your eyes peeled for that. All that good stuff. But as I say, as always, you can get me anywhere you want, socials wise. I wouldn't advise TikTok because I'm not a fan, but Facebook, X, YouTube, all that good stuff. Just get at me at Will the Thrill Wad-l. That's WAD-L. And as I say, let's talk some birds. I'm a night owl, so any hour of the day, if you want to talk Falcons, get at your boy. And I think that's pretty much, well, as I say, around work, you're much the same, Des. I know it's a passion of yours. So if they want to get you on X, what's that tag? One more time.
Yeah, Scottish Falcon. So the original Scottish Falcon. So yeah, again, I would say since we started your show, the messages I've got have been fantastic, really positive. So again, keep that coming.
Yep. And that was a great tag and a great wee segue there, because after the show last night, you've met the real and original bird lady, except no substitute. Now there is the real and original Scottish Falcon.
Yeah,
so once again, it's nothing but the best on our shows. Nothing but the best. And as always, in closing, family, it's been so special to be provided this platform to kind of, just as I say, take the brand global and kind of flagship up this idea of just being the voice of all the fans, not just in the US, not just in the A, but all across the world, right? Even here to the not so sunny Glaslanta with your boys. We're aiming to show. Thank you ever so much, Jay Black.
Yeah,
we appreciate you all. And as I say, like, there may be a time very soon where we're looking at red and black international events, which would be something so good to set up and show a little bit of solidarity with the family. So by all means, keep supporting. And one more thing that I would say is to some of the select fans, if you do want to get in on the watch party for tomorrow, it's going to be family only, so it's not going to be live, anything like that. But Cam and I are going to start a wee tradition, as I say. So in the Creators and Frequent Flyers Lounge, you'll be able to come in and watch the game with us. If you want to do that, just let us know. But until then, we will see you on Saturday. All the peace, all the love, and pain is international, but so is passion. Thank you for the love, and good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys. Bye.